about who these beasts or kingdoms are. You look at a lion, and it's not even so much looking at a lion, but certainly now there is, as talked about, there is kind of the negative lion, which could be used to symbolize Satan. You also obviously have the Lion of Judah, which is a name of Jesus Christ. But if you look at the Song of Moses, and you look at eagle's wings, you'll find that God refers to his protection and his watching out for Israel, or for the seed of the offspring of Jacob, that he watches over them. He compares it to an eagle protecting its young with its wings. That's how God protects his people. And I believe that this first beast is represented by the Christian nations of the world, which would be obviously the United States, it would be Great Britain, it would be Canada, it would be Germany, France, etc. And that is my belief anyway. In verse 5, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. Now, the nation that is described as a bear, that even calls itself a bear, as you may know, is Russia. And this certainly, I believe, speaks to Russia. It, in another sense, perhaps you might say, speaks to what came out of Russia, or what came out of the Soviet Union, which is communism. And here we have, again, as some have said, I think probably the best way to describe it is Russia, if you will, if we're going to call it Russia, is on one side, as if it is tipped over, as if it's even playing dead, and as if it is harmless, but it rises up from one side and devours much flesh and has 3 ribs, or you might say 3 nations that it will consume, that it will do great harm to, in its mouth. So Russia kind of playing possum, and it will become quite deadly and quite troublesome and quite bothersome at the appointed time. You might say it's already starting, if it has not already started. But verse 6, and after this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now, this nation, or this beast, I believe, is comprised of those who are of the synagogue of Satan. And again, I mentioned that you have the number 4 here, with 4 wings of a fowl and 4 heads, and dominion, basically meaning that this beast is allowed to have worldwide influence. And so it is that the children of Satan, the tares, the offspring even of Cain, they are the ones who are setting up the New World Order, if you will. They are the ones who are setting up and have set up a one world system. They certainly have great influence and control within the United Nations, and they exert their power and their influence and their deception through even what could be called the 4 hidden dynasties, spheres of influence, which is the political sphere, the economic sphere, the educational sphere, which includes not only our schools but our media, and yes, the religious sphere as well, causing much deception to be taught and to be shared and to be put out even in Christian churches. And you can read also in Deuteronomy chapter 32, where it describes the leopard and saying their God is not as our God, or their God is not our God, their spot is not our spot. They're not God's people. Although they are created by him, obviously, if they would repent, then they would be part of his people. They would be saved. They would be grafted in, if you will. But as it stands, they are even the enemy of God and doing work and being of the chief enemy of God and the chief adversary of the people of God, which is to say, Satan. Verse 7, After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth, 2 rows of teeth even. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And again, I'm running low on time here. I've got about 9 minutes. Looks like about 9 minutes. So, for time's sake, I want to try to get to a certain point here, and I'm not going to jump to Revelation chapter 17. But you hopefully know from Revelation chapter 17 that you have a beast with 10 horns, and the horns as described in that chapter are 10 kings, which I believe are 10 supernatural kings, 10 fallen angels that come with Satan at the time that he's booted out of heaven by Michael. And but you have this fourth system, this fourth beast, which overcomes the other beasts, the other chief kingdoms, the other chief powers of the world. And certainly, when it comes down to it, although obviously at this particular time you have the Islamics, the Arabs, the Muslims that are causing a lot of problems, it would seem, in the world at this time. But the chief powers, if you will, would be the Christian nations, with the United States being the superpower of the Christian nations. And then you have the, if you will, kind of the antithesis of that, the atheistic nations, which again originated with Russia and communism. And then you have Satan's children in the midst of all of it, stirring up whatever they can, playing both sides of the fence even, financing both sides in a war, as they have done, and causing much confusion, much chaos, much deception, to ultimately try to bring everybody into a global system, into globalism, into their new world order. But all three of these main powers, if you will be overcome by this fourth beast, which is Satan's end-time governmental, and when he comes on the scene as well, political and religious system of rule. And certainly that third one will go willingly. The other two will go maybe not as willingly, but they'll be overcome by it and taken into that system as well. Verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up from among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things, great blasphemies, as it is written in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, showing himself that he is God and speaking great blasphemies against God. And the little horn, of course, again, you probably know, is a name for Satan, is a name for the devil, is a role that he will play in the end times. Verse 9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. Now, obviously, hopefully you know, and again, the thrones were cast down. In other words, all governmental powers, all man powers, all even Satan's power will come to an end. All the dominion of man, whether you're talking flesh man or whether you're talking supernatural man, Satan will come to an end. Those thrones were cast down. We have God arriving on the scene. And Daniel simply observed what, among others, certainly what Elijah observed when he was taken up by God, and also what you can read of in what Ezekiel, in the first chapter of Ezekiel, observed as he saw this whirlwind, this great flying thing with, again, it said amber. You can check out the word amber in a Strong's Concordance. It translates as highly polished bronze. But as this circular spinning disc that to our eyes and that to our understanding we would probably call a UFO, but it's not a UFO because on it would be God himself. It simply would be his means of transportation, getting to and fro. And Daniel is doing his best to describe God's, as he talks about these wheels as burning fire, doing his best to describe God's means of transportation for coming to this earth at that time. Verse 10, a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. In other words, we're coming now to Judgment Day even. And again, man's kingdom, man's time, man's rule is past. Satan's rule is past. And we're here even at Judgment Day. Verse 11, I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I mean, he just kept talking and kept blaspheming. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So he can talk all he wants to, but that's where he's going. And that's what will happen to him. He will be consumed, inasmuch as our Father is a consuming fire, and that will be it for him. So again, he can talk as much as he wants to talk. It won't do him much good at that point. Verse 12, as concerning the rest of the beast, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. In other words, the other beast, as mentioned, the three first beasts, even that third beast, which again I refer to from the teachings of Shepherd's Chapel as the Kenites, even they will have an opportunity to be taught. There will be no man-run governments during this time, and there's all governmental authority of man and systems and kingdoms of men will be done away with, but the people themselves will not be done away with at that time. After the 1,000 years, yes, some of them will, when they unfortunately turn back to Satan and are deceived by him yet again. But during that time when God arrived, and specifically when Christ arrives, which we'll get to here in the next couple of verses, they will be taught. And so it is. But verse 13, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. So here we have Christ's second advent. Verse 14, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed. And so it is that every knee will bow when he arrives on the first day in the millennium. Satan, again, after that 1,000-year period, will be released for that short season. He'll try to destroy it. He'll try to overcome it, but he won't be successful. Verse 15, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me, because he could not understand it. And we'll find when we pick up the next time that this would be interpreted for him, and it would also be interpreted for you and I. So we'll continue in the great book of Daniel. Exciting to be in the prophecy section now, and we'll pick it up next time. Everybody have a great day. Take care. God bless. Stay in his word, and be blessed.
1, 2, 3, 4.